it's JD. So I've been telling you my story. I got 10 minutes into the podcast and I thought I'd split it into two just so you can kind of decide whether you want to go through the whole thing. So this is part 2 of my story. Hope you enjoy it. The day that I wanted to execute this plan, I went to work. I went on my break, which was a split shift, so I had about an hour and a half within my break. I drove home and I went to park the car just a little bit further up because I thought I was taking too much space and the car wouldn't start. And the starter motor had gone. We called the AA out and they said, yeah, your starter motor's gone, there's nothing you can do about it. And I thought, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be able to drive up to the Downs. The plan is ruined. And I was quite upset about this, but I thought, you know what, I'm not going to let it stop me. I had to get the train back into work. My shoe broke, it was busy, it was horrendous, but I was quite happy knowing that it was going to be the last day that I ever had to do this. I was going to die, and I was so happy about it. And I finished work, I took the wine from the fridge, went home in the taxi, I got back to my dad's, I went inside the drawer where all the medicines are kept, I took paracetamol, antihistamines, ibuprofen, everything that I could find. I went and sat in the car outside on the road, turned the light on, sat, drank a bottle of wine, downed as many pills as I could, and became pretty delirious. I actually made a phone call to a friend, which I don't remember doing, and they became quite concerned about me. The next thing I know, the door was being opened and it was an ambulance, a paramedic, and all I can remember is just projectile vomiting. I was put in the ambulance, I was pretty out of it. I was taken to hospital, and when I woke up, I was spoken to by the crisis team, and they thought that I should go into a psychiatric ward. I went into a psychiatric ward, which was really scary at first, but within a few days I made what I can only say is kind of friends, people that it was quite comfort to be around because they had similar issues, and we got on. Saw the doctor once a week. They put me on sertraline, which is an antidepressant, which you shouldn't really give someone with bipolar, but they were trying what they could. And eventually, they were going to let me out at one point, but I still couldn't see a future ahead of me. Everything was so dark and grim, and I just wanted to die. And they said, well, maybe we're not going to discharge you at the moment. Kept me in for a couple more weeks, and then eventually they discharged me with the care of the home treatment team, and I had to go back to my dad's. The home treatment team would visit me every day and bring me my medication, but I still was suicidal, horrifically suicidal, and I wanted to die. I was looking on YouTube quite a lot at how to hang yourself. I was obsessed. All day long I would just look at these videos, the best way of hanging yourself, how to hang yourself, how does it feel. So eventually I was downstairs with the home treatment team and they said, how do you feel? I said, I still want to die. I'm going to hang myself. They said, well, we think you're safe because you're around your dad. I said, I don't think I am. I'm going to do it. I've picked the belt that I'm going to do it with. They said, we think you're fine. Obviously I wasn't. And within a few days, maybe less than a week, I was with my dad and my sister downstairs. I just said goodnight. I went upstairs. I took the belt. I put it in the door. I got the chair. I put it around my neck and I hung myself. The next thing I know is like an out-of-body experience. So I was knelt at my own feet and my actual body was face down on the floor. I saw my dad to one side of me and my sister to the other side of me. And all I could hear my sister scream was, she's bleeding. So what had happened is the belt had fallen through the gap in the door and I'd fallen face first onto the floor. And I do believe that I died for a second. I remember after that just waking up in hospital and being taken straight to a psychiatric ward. In the psychiatric ward, I met a great girl who I'm not going to name. We'll just call her Natasha, just for argument's sake. And she was fantastic. She was a really nice girl. She made me feel so welcome, and she was on quite a big section. She had self-harmed quite a lot in her life. She had quite violent spells, but she was one of the loveliest people you'll ever meet. Me and her got on really well. But what I was doing in that psychiatric ward was horrific. I tried to hang myself again. I tried suffocating myself with a plastic bag. I tried to cut my artery, which I did do. They sent me to the general hospital because I managed to get blades in. I was doing everything in my power to try and kill myself or hurt myself in some way. And I can't explain the mental state that I was in. I just wanted to die. This led to an admission of 3 months. My dad actually decided that he didn't want anything to do with me anymore after finding me on the floor after hanging myself. And he came into the hospital and just said, I don't want to see her anymore. Find her somewhere else to live. And that was it. So he didn't speak to me for a very long time. 3 months later, I was discharged and I went back to the shared house I was living in previously before I went back to my dad's. Now, after that, I'm going to be quite brief and just say to you, well, I was sectioned again around about another 8 times over the next 5 years. Some of this was for being manic, getting into fights. The police would take me to the psychiatric wards. They would assess me. They would maybe keep me in, discharge me. I'd stay in there for a few days, stay in there for a couple of weeks. I actually moved to Crawley, and again, I was just sectioned left, right and centre. I was going around in circles. I couldn't work, which I still can't do because I'm too emotional and stress is way too hectic for me. I get too paranoid, I hear voices, I see things. I can't really explain how the psychosis works, but I hear things talking to me, I hear noises. Sometimes I see people's faces and they're dripping, like blood's falling off them, or like they're crying, or like they're sweating. It's really odd. So yeah, I get these hallucinations. I sometimes disassociate, so I black out completely. I have actually lost time in my life when I was thrown out of my ex's mum and dad's when we went up to Preston, and he give me all my bags. I had about 4 big bags on me. I walked down to the traffic lights. I completely dissociated. And when I actually came round of the zone out, if you will, I was hallucinating that I was with him and his kids. And then I kind of came round and I realised I was with no one. I had none of the bags on me. And I was on the other side of Preston, and it was about 5 hours later. Other things that have happened to me is I've seen people. I've had conversations with people in my flat that I've known and then realised that they're not there. These things are distressing, and I know I've been going on for a little while now, but I am just trying to tell my story and hope that other people can kind of learn from it or get some education as to what kind of goes on with mental health and mine in particular. I tried taking my own life quite a few times. There's times I was resuscitated. The crash team had to resuscitate me a few times. It was overdoses mostly. Like I said, I did try to hang myself that one time, but the admissions in and out of hospitals, psychiatric wards, just became too many. The last time I actually tried to take my own life was in October 2018. My uncle took me back to my flat when I was discharged in Crawley. He said, look, you're not staying here on your own. You're coming back to Preston with me for at least a little while. So I said, yeah, okay. Came back up to Preston. I'd avoided Preston for so long because of the things that had happened here. But I got back in contact with some friends. I started rekindling relationships with my friends. I met one of my old friends who I never really saw as a romantic interest, but we bonded when I got back, and we have a really great relationship now. I've had my struggles. I have been sectioned since, just once, and that was for having a manic episode and having psychosis. But apart from that, things are looking on the up and I'm doing really good. So I hope I've been able to help you understand what life's like for me. Things are really up and down. I'm quite emotional. I struggle with stress. I have anxiety so bad that I can't leave the house sometimes. But the things that I'm doing with my charities, the mental health awareness, is just helping me get along and tick along. The biggest struggles I've faced have been the feelings of wanting to die. And those feelings are some of the most terrifying feelings I've ever had. All I can say about that really is with depression, you feel like a burden, and it is a struggle because you think people are helping you because they have to, not because they want to. But I'll tell you now, people do want to. They really do. And accept that help. Please don't go into that hole and that rut where you think, I can't take the help because they're doing it because they feel like they have to do it and I'm just causing them suffering. That's not true. So a bad day for me would be not waking up, having nothing to eat, not being able to leave the house, crying a lot, having great paranoia every time someone slows down outside in a car. Maybe I'm thinking that they're coming to get me, that they're going to come and take me away. I have bad paranoia and suffer with it quite a lot of the time. I do have support from others and I am embracing it at the moment. My coping strategies are music mostly. I do music. I do things like using loom bands. I do a bit of sewing. I DJ. I play my guitar. These are all mindful coping strategies that I have. Being creative, and it's what gets me through. Is there anything that I'm proud of, despite my struggles, is that I'm here today to tell this story. And having achieved the goals recently that I have with my record label, with my singing, my songwriting, the podcasts, the amount of friends that I've got around me, I'm proud of it all. And it shaped me as a person today who is able to share with you, without any judgment or embarrassment, my life. Advice that I would give for anyone that might be going through a similar experience is just to reach out and open up. People love you despite what you may think. Sometimes it's hard to accept love, and it's hard to love yourself. One thing I will say, when you do learn to love yourself and you learn to accept the love of other people, life becomes so much better. I hope that's given you a bit of an insight. I know that's a very long podcast, but I had a lot to say. I'm going to be interviewing a few other people, friends, people that I've been reaching out to on Twitter and Facebook, and I'm hoping to bring you a few stories that can reach out, open your minds and maybe go into your hearts and give you an idea of what other people's lives are like. And if you struggle with something similar, maybe take away from their stories and be able to use them as an inspiration. Thank you.